Hi, everybody. I wanted to take a couple of minutes just to talk about opportunity for change right now. I wrote a piece for Forbes around this, and probably way too early in the pandemic, but it hit me and I thought I would write about it. It surrounded a question I've asked a lot of my clients throughout the years, and certainly now more than ever working for BuzzBar. I think a lot of people are coming to us at the moment and just they're paralyzed, they don't know where to go and that sort of stuff. And the first question I always used to ask sort of clients when they're in that sort of state is, what would it look like if you started over? You have all these constraints, you have all these obligations that you think, and you have legacy systems. And I think it's important to take a step back, certainly now, and say, what would we do if we were building it from scratch, starting right now? You know, if you ignored all the decisions you've made and all the issues that you were going through and that sort of thing, what would the perfect thing that you wanted to create look like now? You're never going to have a better time to do that than right now. I think the pandemic is obviously affecting lots of people in different ways, but not seeing an opportunity in it would be a real shame for a lot of companies that are out there. And I think looking through that question and really digging deep could help save a lot of companies that probably aren't going to be around, sadly. When you think about what that question's asking you, it's really figuring out, I've got to ignore the sunk cost fallacy biases, which is the fact just pouring money after other money because it's been spent. Thinking about other biases, what I think to be true, what I'm reading in the press and that sort of stuff. Like fundamentally looking at your problems and looking at your issues and figuring out how the consumers and customers and people are reacting, really important. But also that question enables you to really just think bigger. And I think no time in history more than now has given people the space to do that and given people the freedom to do it. And if you're not taking that, then you're disadvantaging yourself, I think. And it certainly could really change the way you do business and possibly change the world in some cases. When you think about what's happened right now, all rugs have been pulled, right? They've been pulled out from underneath people. They're not going to be put back in the same way. And I think understanding that and moving forward from that position is a smart business move. And if you allow yourself to revel in that moment, in that freedom that you've been given, you'll never have a better chance to really fix some issues that you might have, or perhaps even not want to fix those issues and start fixing new ones or creating new solutions to that. Where you go and where we go now is really a choice. And I think that's a key thing to keep in mind throughout this whole thing. When you've got the responsibility of having business and employees and that sort of stuff, that's incredibly challenging, frustrating, amazing, and that sort of stuff. But using the time that we've got at the moment to really make those changes and sort of give ourselves the time to think a bit better, think a bit differently, so that when we go back, it's not business as usual. It's business as better. And I think that's the sort of key thing. And there's three areas where I think a lot of people can spend a lot of time thinking about now to benefit themselves in the short and long term. And those are purpose, processes, and people. So when you think about your purpose, I think you've never had a better time to think about fundamentally, who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? Where do we want to move this product or this service? And what do you stand for? And how do we tell people about it? Those are the things that you can really sort of revel in, having the amount of time that you never get before. You know, a lot of the time, you know, people are rushing these things and they've got time at the moment. So take that time, move forward in the right way. Processes, this is an important one because everybody has processes they have to go through, whether that's IT and that sort of stuff. We've seen whole swathes of departments cut. We've seen whole processes get changed overnight because you were forced to. Do you have to go back to those? Should you go back to those? Asking questions now about where you go and how you do things is fundamental to how your business will be resilient in the future or how it will be sustainable in the future, which is another key point. Think about your processes from an ecological perspective as much as you can. Money's going to be tight. People are going to be frustrated. They're not going to go for the more expensive option. So think about how you can make those better decisions for us moving forward. Finally, people, as I mentioned before. I think hiring is one of the most important parts of any business. Getting the right people in, whether that's at the start of a business, growing a business, has never been more important. It's also never going to be more challenging now. You're never going to get that amount of communication that you get from body language, meeting that person physically and that sort of thing. So take time to think about what those processes look like for you and how you're going to make that work, but also onboarding those people, giving them the best chance for success, and looking after people's mental health, I think, has never been more important. So, I think it's important that we don't strive for business as usual coming out of the pandemic. And I think if you're not spending the time to build businesses for the future, building resilience into their model, and really sort of focusing on what you want to build, you're missing a trick. And I hope everybody takes some time to really think about what they want coming out of the pandemic for them and their business. Stay well.